Hey guys, welcome to Big Laws Official. Today I have the three-time World's Strongest Woman and the 2018 Pro Arnold Classic winner, the fantastic Donna Moore. Donna, thank you for coming on. How's things?
No problem. Everything's great. Thanks, Laurence. How are you?
Yeah, good. Have you been able to train much recently? Because obviously a lot of us have not been able to get to the gym.
I have and I haven't. We've got like a little lock-up with an axle bar, a few tyres, and I've been lent a few kilos of plates. So it's kind of been quite limited, but Jenny's quite imaginative. So we've had a few different things to be doing, lots of, slow reps, controlled reps, because I don't have so much weight. But we've managed to ramp up the weights a bit this last week. Started on a new 12-week program just to give myself a bit of focus, because I don't know if everyone else has found out that the lockdown's sort of taken that away a little bit. The routines have changed, working from home, such like that. It's been really difficult. I found it a struggle, so it's nice to have an actual, proper program with a goal at the end.
Oh, definitely. It's been really difficult for a lot of people. I mean, as you know, I train a lot of people, and you're
Yeah.
sort of having to be very creative with workouts where people have limited equipment. And I think for a lot of us, just doing some kind of training at the moment is just the most important thing. Just keeping yourself active, keeping yourself in some kind of routine. When all the kind of lockdown kicked off, I felt very depressed, and I just sat around watching TV like most of us, watching Netflix. And then it
Yeah.
was about 2 or 3 weeks into it, I was like, I need to get myself into a proper routine again and start training at a certain time, eating at a certain time. And then all of a sudden my mood lifted, and I just felt a lot better that I was in some kind of structured routine.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I still managed to try and do something at least every other day. And my job that I have now involves a lot more sitting down, and I found that quite a detriment actually to training. It takes me an awful long time to warm up my old body and get going. So it has been better to have a bit of focus and get away from the desk. I did feel the same as you, that well, if I can't train in my proper gym, then I don't want to do it, and I don't want to be outside, and I don't want to be in a shed. But I've changed my mind a little bit about that, and making the best out of situations. I'm sure everybody really is.
Yeah,
I
that's
did,
all we can do in
did
this situation.
yeah, that's right. I did a few like YouTube workouts in the living room, and I was like, no, no, I can't do it.
It was funny. I think originally everyone was doing like the online workouts in the living room, and
Oh,
then it was like 2 or 3 weeks into it, and everyone was like, "Sod that." you
I
sort
think,
of,
I think I did two, and I was like, no, I can't exercise in my living room with my teenagers looking at me going, what on earth are you doing? Like, no, I'm okay. I'll go back to my shed.
yeah. If I tried to do it in the living room, the little one would be just climbing on top of me. I wouldn't get much done. But it's not been so bad for me because obviously I'm not competing right now. But for you guys that are still competing, I think it's a lot more stressful. You want to stay in top form. I mean, do you have any contests coming up?
Well, I had a couple of things planned that I wanted to do, but they've all been changed obviously because of the travel restrictions. So I really wanted this year to qualify for the actual Arnold Pro competition. The qualifier was originally July in Canada, which I was really looking forward to, but obviously now the world shut down and that's been postponed until around November time. We think we've got
Okay.
no actual date, but obviously we do know that the OSG official Strongman Games, World's Strongest Woman, etc., is also in November. So it kind of makes life a little bit tricky, just due to like work commitments and trying to have two big high level competitions, because they're both going to be heavy, I would imagine. In such a short space of time at the other side of the world. So just from a training perspective, rest, work, money, of course, it's difficult, and maybe we might have to make some decisions about what to do. So those were the main things that I had planned. This strongest woman in the world pro show qualifier in July, and then OSG like November, and then the Arnold. They're the kind of ones that I like to do. I like the big competitions and more crowds, different events, stuff like that. I like to be somewhere else. But yeah, it's become a bit tricky. So we'll see what the actual dates of November bring, and then probably I'll have to decide what's
Well,
best
I
all
spoke
round.
to I spoke to Colin last week, and he seems hopeful that some events are going to be able to start happening again. And I had a brief chat with Darren as well, and he's hopeful of getting some good news very soon. So fingers crossed we do start to hear about contests and we get dates that are going to be set in stone. So you really have a good idea of what to peak for. But obviously getting you on, I mean, Strongman is massively popular now, and Strong Woman is becoming more and more popular as well. So for those people that don't know who you are, because obviously I know you very well, I know how strong you are, you know, we're friends, but I want you to tell people your story of where you started from, how you got into the sport, and just a list of maybe your favorite achievements. But go back to the start. What really was there kind of a moment you can remember that just got you hooked on being strong or strong woman in general?
I can't really. I suppose there is a couple of moments, but the way that I started off, just training in general, was that because I was, quite overweight. My children were really young. I was unhappy, and a few other kind of mental health issues. And the GP had said, well, try and do some exercise. It'll help you to lose weight and it'll boost your mood, etc. Which it did. And I joined the local leisure centre and I was doing body pump and body attack, body step, which didn't last long because the mirror confused me, and that the whole class would be going one way and I'd be going like the other way. If the people that know me will know that this is not a thing that I'm good at, coordinating things. So as well as stepping over something, I turn in a direction. I was like, I can't do that. So that's how I kind of got into training. But it was really, those kind of classes were really beneficial to me at that time. They were just what I needed. I didn't live near my family, and I made new friends, and I just fell in love with exercise in the first instance. When I got a little bit more confident, I went to like a regular gym that didn't really have the classes, but it had gym equipment, and I was able to do more stuff, by myself, and I found out that I was quite strong there. I think you'll be familiar with Pete from Cerberus,
Yes. Yeah.
and Callum. So I used to live in the same place as Pete, and he was a PT in the gym. And he always used to set, like regular gym challenges for, keep people interested and such like. So we always used to chat, and he said, you have to do all the men's challenges. You can't do the ones for the women. So I used to take on all the guys' challenges, and he'd be like, look, you're nearly at the top, you're nearly at the top. And, to have encouragement from, people like Pete at the start was, really important to me. He showed me how to start deadlifting. It's great if you can find someone at the start to give you that little bit of guidance. So he then suggested I went to another gym, which was a bit more a lifter's gym, if that makes sense, less commercial.
Yep.
And I got into a proper training program there with all the big floor lifts that we would do, and I was just really, really enjoying that. And then kind of spirals on from there with social media. Another lady in Scotland had seen some of my lifts on Facebook and said, oh, I'm running a strong woman competition in Ayrshire. Would you like to participate? And I was like, okie dokie. I've seen it on the TV. I remember watching Jill Mills and Julie Ryder and all of the people that did it back in the early 2000s. I thought, yeah, I would love to do that. And then this is my chance. Yeah. So I went to Ayrshire, and it was freezing, obviously, because it's in Scotland and I was there. It's always rains and it's always cold. And Andy Kearney was the MC, so that was my first meeting with Andy Kearney. So, and also John Pollock. So I'd met some really cool people. Who was John Pollock's first time out as well. So it was just a great atmosphere, and I was totally out of my depth. No idea really what I was doing, but I just loved it. I really found it great. The ladies were from other countries, Germany, Iceland, and they were just really welcoming, and I just felt at home in that kind of environment. And then I thought, yeah, I would like to get involved more in this kind of sport. So kind of started from there really. I did one other competition before that. That was a deadlift one, and that was in our local gym, and that's the first time that Luke Stockman had competed as well. So and Tom was like, I know he's like a giant baby now, but he was like he was like an actual baby then. like a small giant child, but now he's just like, an even more giant child. Um, and I don't think he even lifted at all. So, we are going like back a little bit. So I've met
What
some
what what year was this? Can you remember what year it was you started?
my first strong woman competition was 2012. So I would imagine
Oh, ages ago.
it was,
I started in 2005.
yeah. But I mean, like, I don't even know how old Tom is now. So you can imagine, like,
He's
then
still a baby, isn't he?
yeah. So, I just was lucky that I'd found some great people to give me encouragement along the way, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So we did. I moved back to England at that point, so I was, more accessible to competitions, and went through the qualifying process for Britain's Strongest Woman and things like that, and ended up somehow in Finland, in Helsinki. It's like the World Championships or whatever it was actually called at that time. Things changed their names, and it's the first time that I'd met Kristen Rhodes and other actual strong people, really strong people from Europe, and it was horrendous. If there's any pictures of that, I like zeroed basically everything apart from a Conan's wheel, and I remember watching them thinking, this is how I want to be. Like, I want to be like these really strong women. Look how awesome they are. It's just the best feeling ever. So I think that was the turning point for me specifically.
Yeah.
That I was like, right, I want to do this at the same level as
That
them.
that
Now,
was
I'm
that was when
fortunate
you
enough,
really thought, I'm going to get serious about it.
yeah, and I was fortunate enough then to see obviously like Kristen, but now we're able to compete together. So it's like it's a grateful circle. And I said to her about, oh, it was awful that time that we were in Finland, and she was like, oh, were you there? And I was like, yeah,
It
that's
is
how
it,
great
it
I
is it is
was.
strange because obviously being around as long as I have, I've had a lot of the younger guys come up to me and they'll have photos on their way up, and then the next thing you know, you're competing against them a few years down the line.
Yeah,
I mean, I had
exactly.
Kiliaskowski came up and had a photo with me, before when I went Europes, and it was one of his first big shows, and he was asking me for a photo, and then you see where he's gone on to now, and you know. Belsac, a number of these kind of top youngsters. I mean, now
Yeah.
we've got so many great youngsters in the country, but you're still the number one woman right now. Um,
Well, it's definitely getting harder. Obviously, we've got a great talent also in this country. You know yourself with Andrea. She's
oh,
about to be doing that
actually,
world
the women in
record.
the UK are incredible
Yeah,
at
with
all weight classes as well. We've got so
yeah,
many good female athletes.
right across the board, and it's really been good results. World's Strongest Woman, the podiums at the Arnold, two lightweights from the UK in the top four. And that's their first time actually at the Arnold themselves. So they made a really big impact, and it was great to be there. To watch that. So there is so much more progression in the sport available for people now because of the amount of people that's found an interest.
I remember early on in my career, a strong woman contest being announced, and
Mm,
there was two competitors.
yeah,
That was it. Gemma Magnuson, who was
yeah,
an
yeah.
exceptional athlete, but after her, there was no competition really for her back in those days, and
No,
you just had such a small pool of women to compete. Sometimes you get no women turn up, and
yeah.
now you guys have big classes. You've got so many different weight classes.
hmm It's
Really
it's
impressive.
definitely the introduction of like more weight classes has made it more like accessible to everyone really. And like we said about Gemma, obviously I've had a lot to do with Gemma as well. That she didn't have people that were here that she could compete with. There were other strong people in like the Ukraine at the time, a lady called Nina. But they were spread out along the world, and because like the sponsorship now is small. But then there was absolutely nothing and no prize money, and you would be somewhere in a field, um, and it was just very difficult, really. For
Do you think having someone like Andrea, for instance, to sort of push you is really helped both of you excel and
Yeah,
improve your
I think
level?
so. And well, I've been talking to her, about a log record and how her training's going and stuff, and we generally get on. So it's
It's nice
you
to
know,
see. I mean, I think as
yeah,
athletes, you're going to be competitive. You both want to win. Just like
yeah,
myself, when I'm competing, I want to win. But it's nice when you can get on with these people outside and train together and chat
yeah.
and just it's a tough sport, so it's nice to enjoy it together as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's nice to have someone that understands the same problems that you're going through. Like Andrea's got a family, she's also got a job. Measuring up the difficulties of balancing your family and trying to train as much as we need to, and also still go to work. It's nice to have someone that understands that concept as well.
It's a good point as well, because the female side of things, it doesn't even have the sponsorship that the men have. The top men now can do this professionally, but you girls
Yeah.
still all work full time, don't you?
Yeah, well, as far as I'm aware, we all do, unless people, have got their own gyms and that's kind of, their job. But the rest of us seem to have jobs that aren't really related to it at all. So yeah, I mean, like we said, there's more competitions. It is becoming prize money. There's prize money at the Arnold. There's prize money for the record breakers. Um, things like that. So that definitely helps. Although it doesn't obviously outweigh how much actually costs, as you know, to train and eat and travel and everything that goes along with it. It's nice just to get that bit back, that you can maybe buy another bit of kit or buy something for your kids because they've been suffering all of your
Well,
training.
that's a good point. I mean, what's it like trying to balance kind of home and family life with being a world class athlete?
Um, for me, I've found it a bit more difficult. I've changed jobs now, so whereas before I was working shift work, I was able to sort of, train before a shift, or I'd be done early enough, I could go straight afterwards. But now my job's like daytime. Um, it can be quite hard because by the time you've finished work, sorted out everything that you need to, and get to the gym, it can be, quite late. And then 2 hours or more training by the time I've, like say, warmed up my whole body and got going, you're well after 9 o'clock before you even get back in the house, and then it just all starts all over again. So it is really, really difficult, I have to say. I'm lucky that mine are a little bit older now, so I can kind of just say, right, there's your dinner, or make you dinner.
What
and
do- what do your kids think of you being the world's strongest woman?
um, Well, they're really proud. Like, Amber's 18, so she's a bit more, oh, my mum's done this, whatever. He's 16, and he's just like, yeah, yeah, my mum lifts things. It's not.
It's funny, isn't it,
Yeah.
when your kids like my kids, for instance, at Christmas time, they'd be like, "Do you want to watch Daddy on TV?" Nah, where's the tablet?
Yeah.
They don't
Um,
care, but they like to show off occasionally to friends or whatever. But they really don't care about what you do.
no, not at all. And I think, well, yours will be like mine. They're kind of, their younger years, they're kind of grown up with it. So they're just like, oh, yeah, mum's pulling a lorry again. Awesome. Yeah. And did you win? Well, yes or no. Oh, that's about it. And when are you coming home? Because such and such needs this, and I want that. Oh, okay. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
no,
think they are. And I think amongst like the older teenagers, like I say, Amber's 18. It's more of a talking subject. The girls are more interested now in women, being like powerful and strong, independent, things like that. So they have more of an interest, I think, as they get to about that age, because it's something that's different. It's not what a lot of people do, and they've maybe never been exposed to it before. So it's great to be able to say to Amber's friends, or Amber to show her friends what I was doing, and that women can lift weights and do cool
sure.
stuff too.
You girls do some incredible lifting these days. I mean, I've really noticed the improvement in the standard,
Mm,
even just over the last 5 years. The women's
yeah,
standard has massively progressed. You're all
yeah.
pushing each other to just get higher and higher all the time, and
Hmm.
it's quite scary to think where it's going. I mean, what are your best lifts? Just, I mean, I know you're a good, well-rounded athlete, and that's what makes you a
Yeah.
strong woman. But just give us a quick rundown of some of your biggest lifts.
Well, I love my Atlas stones, so I've got my
World
one,
record holder in the Atlas
yeah,
stones.
161.5, and I think there's plenty more scope in that for me in particular. Um, it's just my kind of event. I'm just well designed for
That's 161 kilo Atlas stone. That was heavier than the stones at World's Strongest Man not that long ago.
it. Yeah.
That's very, very impressive.
Yeah, so well, that's one of my favorite events. Like, Tom and stuff were designed for it. We've got like longer levers, and there's plenty of space to put it. Basically, when it's as when it's on your knee, you've got plenty of space to hug, kind of thing.
You
So
do, I
yeah.
don't, but you do.
And My deadlift is like it's 250, but I think that was at the end of a run at World's Strongest Woman. So I think this is why we've started a new program. We might be able to get like it better than that if I concentrate more on it. Because, like you said, if we go into a competition, I want to be good at everything because I want to win the whole lot. So it's great to be good at a couple of things, but winning the whole contest, which is the objective, you need to be quite good at everything. So
Very, very
um,
true.
yeah, and overhead about 125, 130. So we're getting there. Not right now, but we're getting
That's
back up to where we were.
impressive numbers. I love watching you lift in your like training videos, and
Mhm.
when you kind of get crazy. You're like very much like I did when I was kind of competing. I used to psych myself up, and you're stomping around, hitting your
Yeah,
legs, getting yourself worked up. It's brilliant to watch.
whilst listening to Bonnie Tyler. So it doesn't quite all marry up, but it's or retro Euro dance.
I'm not someone that needs the that kind of blaring kind of hard rock
Mm,
to lift weights. I'll listen to whatever I feel like on the day. Sometimes
yeah,
when you're in competition, I don't even notice the music in the
yeah,
background. You're so switched on what you're supposed to be doing. But I
yeah.
think the way you psych yourself up is always fun.
I always have to have like this. Well, I'm lucky because the gyms are bigger, so I'm like, right, I'm just going to walk up to this and I'm just going to do it. So it could be around the whole gym, or it could
You
be,
have a whole. It's like you're going around a track or something before you get into the
yeah.
weights.
And I'm just like, I'm thinking about it, and then I'll have a stop, and then we'll have a moment like you, like, and then you just go. You just find out whatever works for you, I suppose. But no, shed gym doesn't quite have the same space, so it's a more state environment. But yeah, that's how I like to attack everything really. People wouldn't think that because in my life, my work colleagues would be like, "Oh, I've watched your video." God, and I was like, "Oh, sorry," because I'm quite, quiet and
Yeah.
everything. And they just, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what's inside that is suppressed most of the time for
It's
the general
very,
public."
very, very similar to myself. You've seen me many times, and it's when I compete that people actually thought I was a really scary person sometimes when they watch me compete. And it's quite the opposite when you meet me away from competition.
Mm,
But when you're switched on, you're trying to recreate that kind of fight or flight sensation and get the
yeah,
absolute, it's all that kind of aggression that you keep inside. You're sort of, right, now I'm going to let it out and
yeah.
help you kind of lift more weights, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, like you say, you can just switch it on or off to be able to do that because, in competitions, as you know, they can be fairly lengthy. So it's important to be able to have control of that, adrenaline, that you're not like this the whole day or days, whichever it is, that you're able to apply it to that particular task at that particular time. And then after that, just keep it again for the next event. I've worked hard on being able to control that aspect of
Did you find early on you sort of expended too much energy doing it?
yes, very much so, and it's one of the main things that I struggled with at the start. I remember going to a contest in Scotland. It's the first time that I was actually with Jenny properly, and I was so nervous. Again, it was raining and it was in a field, but I was just shaking, like literally shaking before it was my turn to go on the farmer's walk. And Kiki and Eagle from Norway, he came over afterwards and he just said, "It's something. This is something that you need to be able to control. If you can control that, nervousness, then one day you will be the world's strongest woman. But you have to be able to keep that within and
It's
not use all of
it's
that energy before you've even got there. You stood worrying about everything else before you've even got to the task. And you've got the elements of outdoors that particular day, the terrain, it's heavy. You need everything to apply to that particular task to get the result that you've been, training for ultimately.
developing that mental strength and that understanding of how to kind of how much energy you should expend on a certain event. That's a skill that takes time.
Yeah.
It's hard to master that straight away. And I certainly made that mistake of, for want of a better word, blowing my load too early. you know, you you
Yeah.
you you give so much on every single event that by three events in, you're drained completely, and then
Yeah.
the last two, three events, you just don't have anything left. So it becomes a skill understanding how hard to push on each event, where you should hold back a little bit, and
Yeah.
giving yourself that correct expenditure for the whole contest.
It definitely is a really steep learning curve, and that's what the most. I don't know if you find it too, that the newer people, that's what they're asking you. That's the main thing. Like how do you control being so nervous and the worry about what I'm doing? And with especially with their first contest, but with your first contest, you're like, I actually just try and go and put into practice. Everything that you've learned in the gym and complete the lifts. To the best of your ability, learning how to compete, like what you said, is the skill in itself. You can
Yeah.
be absolutely fantastic at every event in the gym, but if you can't keep competition day under control, it all just goes away. Especially if you've made a mistake, for example, or maybe you've got a little injury, and you've got to kind of still keep right. Well, I've got the next event to figure out. I'll
It's,
go
it's
and
understanding that
you know,
at a contest, things don't go perfectly.
no,
And it is really beneficial to get yourself into contests and just get experienced
yeah,
at doing them, because a lot of people they're almost scared to go to a contest and think that they're not good enough. But
yeah. That's a big concern of people,
yeah,
isn't it?
but honestly, I mean, I got my ass kicked a number of times, but that was
It's
the best thing I could do, because it was always a learning process. And even, I mean, with my kind of more novice clients that want to compete, I'm like, go and use this as experience. Don't
Mhm.
worry about winning. Just go there, learn from it, give it 100%, and then we'll sit down, reevaluate after, and see what we need to work on. But just
Yeah,
being in those different environments, because every contest is different, you'll
yeah,
experience something different every single time. You've got to learn to adapt, and that's how you're going to become better and better and better at competing as you get further and further up the rankings.
yeah, definitely. And as well, I would said about people being comfortable in their own gym with their own equipment, but as you know yourself, usually when you get there, it's not anything like you've trained on, and that can be, a total, you know, mind mess kind of wing in itself. You're like, oh well, the
Does
farmers
that
are.
does that affect you? Because I know a lot of the girls, they sort of they want to know the diameter of everything. They want to know the height of everything, and not just the girls. There's plenty of guys as well. But I was talking to JF Caron about it the other day, and he's very much you need to be strong and prepared for everything.
Yeah. Um, I yeah, I no, I'm not really that bothered. But if it was something specific that I was going to be doing, like the rogue record dumbbell that I did, then yes, I wanted that dumbbell, so I got it over here to be training with, because there isn't one like it here. There isn't anything that's even similar. The way that it sits on your arm, and because it was going to be such a heavy weight, I wanted it to be perfect, because that was my particular goal. I wanted that record. So
How
I
much was
think
the record?
81 kilo.
81
Yeah,
kilo dumbbell.
yeah. And it's an interesting piece of equipment too. It's obviously very beautiful. It's come from Rogue, but to fill it up, you have to use sand and lead shot to make it up to the weights, like with a funnel and cups. So Jenny's quite particular, so I had to weigh out all of my cups, like science, to fill it up at each end. But the problem is, as you go through the weeks, the dumbbell's heavier and heavier to start with, and the gym dumbbells run out, and then you've got like a 20-kilo jump, up to the actual weight of the dumbbell.
Yeah.
So that was always an interesting shock. And then obviously collecting it from the gym to try to empty it was also challenging. But yeah, if it's something specific, then like a record, I would want to know the rest. No, not really. I'm
Yeah,
not.
well,
I'm
Andrea's
not
going for
bothered.
the log record, as you know, and I was making her train on the log that she's going to use. I made her bring a log, a 2-hour drive, so that she would use the same log she's going to use. Because when you're going for records,
Yeah,
you want everything to be as specific as possible. But you guys are elite level, and I think as you're on your way up, you shouldn't be so worried about those type of things. You should be focused on being able to adapt and just get yourself stronger.
hmm
As a novice level, it's all about experience. It's all about progressing, and you really don't need to be going to those extremes of having every bit of kit. Because if you need to do that at that level, you're probably not going to get to the level you want to get to.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think when you're starting out, obviously everyone wants a really good result, but like you said, gain the experience, and most of all, enjoy it, because I couldn't actually say, and I think when I've talked to Andrew about it, like competition days itself, then they're not really a lot of fun because it's it's essentially to me, and I suppose to Andrea and other like the pro athletes as well. It's like you're at a job, although you're not getting paid. It's not my hobby anymore, whereas it was, and now it's not. So I want to have a good result at the level that I am. So I think when you starting out, enjoying the processes will keep you in it for longer. I mean, primarily, I love what I do. I want to go to train. I want to do the events and stuff like that. So that's what keeps me going because it is fun and I feel great when I'm doing it. So
Well, you mentioned briefly at the start about the sort of the mental health side of things as one of
mm.
the reasons that you got into training. Has training helped that side of things for you?
um, definitely. When I suppose when I got into training, I had the young children primarily by myself from the youngest one being less than 2. So when you're by yourself with 2 young children, living away from your family, which I was, I really really struggled to deal with that situation. And my like how I'd got to being overweight, and I suppose like postnatal depression and things like that, and as well being sad about the situation that I was in, but I couldn't figure out how to change that. So with just a bit of guidance and advice, and I did have, counseling and things like that, that I was able to make that change, and I definitely use training as still form of like mental health help. You know, if I don't go, then I can, I don't feel right. I don't feel quite as balanced, and I need to have to go for it. So when it announced that the gyms would be locked down, like a lot of people you'd have seen on Facebook, they were like, I won't be able to not go. But you have to still try and make the best out of the situation, which is why even though this kit that I've got is limited and it can be quite you know, not as inspiring, should I say, that, you've got to struggle to drag oil barrels out of everywhere to, load kit onto and things like that. But you're still doing something. You're
Yeah.
still making a positive impact into your day. I feel that, especially with working at a desk, that I need to move. And if I don't move, I feel not great. I still feel that I have to do this as, part of who I am and stability.
I think we're designed to move as humans.
Yeah.
That's and I think the modern kind of lifestyle, it makes us quite sedated, and we just sit at a desk or sit on a sofa and watch
Mm,
TV,
yeah.
and just getting out and going for a walk is something as simple as that can just lift your mood and make you feel a bit fitter and a bit better. And I know how training has helped me with the mental side of
Mhm.
things. I think a lot of people involved in lifting do suffer with anxiety and depression and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and they use it as a form of medication to help them. And I think if it's an important message to get across, because especially in times like now where people are, we're not having the most enjoyable time. We're not able to go out and see people, and it's been quite tough. I think just having someone like yourself who's such an inspiration to so many young girls and guys, it makes people think it's okay to talk about it and
Yeah.
find ways that help them. I mean, I'm not someone that likes to take any medication for that type of thing. I prefer to keep active and set myself goals. And if I'm training, I feel better after training. I sort of set myself targets, whether it's training related, business
Mhm.
related, just to keep me doing something. Because I'm
Yeah.
at my worst when I'm bored,
Yeah.
or if I'm not busy, then I sit around and I start thinking negative thoughts and
Yeah.
start feeling, if anytime I've been injured and you feel like you're useless, and we've a lot of us have experienced those kind of thoughts, and it's just setting little goals and just go out in the garden, do a half an hour workout, go for a
Yeah.
20-minute walk, whatever it is. Set yourself little challenges, and just getting back into that routine. Being in routine helps me so much, because when
Yeah.
I'm sat on the sofa feeling sorry for myself, that's when the negative thoughts come in. I like to keep positive. I like to keep active, and surround myself with positive people as well.
Yeah, and I feel that I'm the same. I'm quite like goal orientated. I need a bit of a focus. It's great to maybe sit down and watch TV for a day at a stretch, maybe 2 days, and then I'm done with that. I need to be, like working towards something all the time. I found that as I've got older, I didn't really realize, I suppose, when I was younger, that that's how I was as a person. It's just now that I've decided that this is what I want to do, and I need that focus to get going. So, like I said at the start, we've got a new program, starting for 12 weeks, an overhead and deadlift, which specifically, but obviously it's a
So is
good
this
base.
going to be for peaking for the official strongman games,
Um,
or just general, just to give
no,
you something to focus on?
it's to give me something to focus on really, because I need, like we just said, I need that. And so now this is Donna, this is what we're going to do. Are you going to do this? Yes, okay. And then that's it. My mind's already changed, and I'm on my way. So just
Oh,
that little bit of something to work towards definitely helps me. And then obviously it's a basis for when competitions do start. I'll already be
in
you
a good
know
position, yeah.
yeah, good position just to add the events in,
So
and strength wise.
do you find if you don't have a plan, you sort of go to the gym and you just like look around and it's like, what am I going to do today? Why am I here?
Yeah. So
I,
yeah, I'm the same. If it's not written down and I'm allowed to go rogue, then I only do the things that I like. um, so it's yeah, I have to have a program. Otherwise, I'll just be there. Especially when I've been training a lot, I'll just be there doing like bicep curls in the mirror or something like that. Beside my boyfriend, who's like, "Don't stand there. Go somewhere else and do that." As I'm like, so. Yeah, and I would probably just bench. To be fair, bench triceps. That's
it's
probably
weird. Like as
it.
I've got, I used to never bench, and as I've got older, I just think lying down benching. This is great. I don't have to do too much. It's
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's all good fun.
I think
Right.
it's a novelty because it's not the main thing that we would comprise in our training. So when you're allowed to, or you've got your own brain on that day, like right, I'm going to do something that I'm not normally allowed to do. It's also
Feel like a naughty schoolgirl. Ah, brilliant. So you're gonna focus on the overhead. You're gonna focus on the deadlift. Hopefully, I mean, what are your goals that you've got left? Because you've achieved so
Mm.
much in strongwoman.
Um, well, I would like to go to the Honor Pro. I would like to win the Honor Pro one more time. I've just turned 40, so everyone's saying, "Are you going to go in the Masters now?" But I'm not ready for that yet. I was only just in May, only just turned 40, so
You are
I'm
far too good for the masters.
still
It's the
in
masters
there.
becoming a lot more popular now. But
Yeah,
when you
I
see
think
guys like Zadrunas was competing in the masters, you think Zadrunas, you're the world's strongest man. You don't need to be
yeah.
doing the masters, but obviously, if you've got the opportunity, you can do both.
Yeah, I think that's as well with people coming to strongman, later in life maybe as well. It
Yeah.
gives people the opportunity to carry on. And like you said, some of the masters are still like the highest class athletes that you've ever come across in the history of the sport. So if you're competing against Adrunas, who you watched at World's Strongest Man, and you're in his, you're in his master and in his class, you'd just be, well, I would.
Yeah, I think that's the tough thing with the masters class because, like you say, there's a lot of people that just start much later in the sport, and it gives them something to focus on and achieve towards. But then you get guys like Mark Felix turn up,
Yeah,
Nick Best, Terry Hollands. These
yeah,
guys can make the final of World's Strongest Man still, so
yeah.
it's quite intimidating, I think, for some of the guys that are kind of new to it.
Yeah, I think in the Masters at the official Strongman Games that was just on, obviously, Terry was over there too, and won all of his things, and I think that was for the people in that class, they were like, so they're competing against someone who's just been at World's Strongest Man as well, and I think he's only just turned 42. I think we're about the same age, so it's nice to see us still, you know, getting in there. And Shiblikov just turned 42, so like you say, there's a big,
So many. It
high
seems to
level
be.
athletes at
You seem
that
to have
age.
more and more people over 40 now that still compete at a high level. It's
Yeah,
impressive. It is.
I'm hoping to keep going as long as I can keep up with the weights of these sections. Like I said, I'd love to win the Arnold Pro. I would like. I think I've got a really big stone lift available to me, and that's something that I would really like to do to set the bar.
What we talking? 400 pounds?
And I think, well, I'll have to do it in kilos in my actual kilo brain. So I would imagine that like 175, 180, I would be able
What
to do.
182 and a half is 400 pounds. So that's what
Right.
I've set the target for you now. You've got to do it.
So that's what I would like to be able to do and get the opportunity to do at some point. But obviously they don't go that high up in competitions in general, so it would have to be a standalone event. But I would like to be able to do that at some point, just as a personal goal for me. And maybe another OSG title, but we'll have to see on the dates of that one.
Awesome.
Really.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with it. I know I mean, you've already done incredibly well. You've had a fantastic career. It's great to see you still enjoying it, still wanting to do more. Donna,
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us. If
no
people want to
problem.
find you, where can they get hold of you on social media?
On social media is Instagram. It's just Donna Moore, Strong Woman, and I've only just got a regular Facebook page, which is just Donna Moore. So I
We
don't
will
put,
we'll put your Instagram
yeah,
account down below. So if anyone wants to find Donna, go and have a look at her, watch her training videos. She's stomping around, going crazy. It's always fun to watch. And best of luck with the rest of the year, Donna. And thank you so much for coming on. I'll speak to you soon,
no problem. It was lovely to talk to
guys.
you.
Thanks, guys. If you like the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. We've got plenty more interviews coming with some strongman legends. See you soon.